Okay, you guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely crazy.
No, girl, you're crazy. But we're here for it.
I don't play with that, oh she act childish. I can turn when I'm up for that Molly. Got away with want me look like Molly. Soon as I walk in, like it is. I don't play with that, oh she act childish. I can turn when I'm up for that Molly.
So as predicted, Candace Owens, of course, has the internet in a absolute chokehold with her, and when I say chokehold, meaning you have some people that loved her live yesterday or her show yesterday, and then you have some people who are just kind of like, she's on the fence and everything. Now, I will say this: me and my wife were definitely on the fence because of really how she was going about it, really how she was kind of explaining. It seems like her energy was really tampered down. But then I decided, okay, well, let me just digest it. Let me think about it. I ended up watching the Amazing Lucas video last night. That it didn't really change my perspective, but it kind of like, I guess it did change my perspective just a little bit, in the sense of, it didn't change my perspective of it because I still feel like she did a great job. She stood on business, but I feel as though her energy was just, or at least how she said she was going about it, or how she was really expressing it. It was a little, it was a little not so Candace-y. It was a little conservative. It was a little reserved and everything, and that's not really what we were here for. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's not really what we were expecting. Some people are here for the drama, some people are here for the information, things like that. Now, of course, me, hey man, I'm just here for the fun. But anyway, my name is Sir Derek. Welcome to my channel where we talk everything business, finance, and we have a little bit of fun. And right now, this right here, this whole thing, this right here is just fun and everything. So what I decided to do is that, okay, I'm gonna make a video and I'm gonna recap. I'm going to recap Candace's first part of her show yesterday, which was her talking about her meeting with Erika. So again, if you like this video and you like things like this where we're talking business, we're talking finance, and then also we're just talking a little bit of politics or a little just a little bit of fun, please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and with all that being said, hey, let's jump into the video.
Okay, everybody, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody back at home. Happy Hanukkah to our greatest friends and allies. And, this is a good time to mention that Israel does have a right to defend itself. Tucker Carlson is Adolf Hitler. And TikTok does need to be purchased by the Mossad. It's just how I'm feeling today. I am not different. Maybe you are different. Welcome back to Candace. Okay, you guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely crazy.
No, girl, you're crazy. And you know what? We're here for it. We're totally here for it.
Amount of people who attacked me for sending out a tweet being like, hey, I'm good, I'm alive. We had a very productive conversation. And they were like, she got the call. She got the call. She's betrayed us. She's doing something else. I can't believe it. This has all just been a show. Calm down, okay? What do you think happened? Well, Erika said, stop. And then I was frozen for 4 hours and 30 minutes, just like, as they just put all of these talking points into my head. That is not what happened. I keep telling you guys, I am not governable. I am basically akin to Kanye West. I never felt more seen.
Well, that is one thing I will say. I will say this. Now, me, I'm not a fan of Candace, because I don't really like how she really started off. But I will say, even then, some of the things she say, you can't really argue with. Some of the things, I think some of the things, well, I'll say this. For me, there are things that I agree with her about, maybe a third, maybe even up to half that I'll agree with her about, right? And then that's probably a quarter that's kind of like, that's on the fence. I need more information, things like that, right? I just can't really trust you. But then there's like that quarter that's left of that craziness that this also falls into, which is crazy, right? But then to also give it a chance and just really dive into it and everything. And of course, I know how to do my own research after that. For a long time, it was just kind of like, that quarter really, really on top of like the really only targeting her own community aspect of it, really really not had me on her side. But my wife has been looking into this. Then I just decided one day, hey, all right, what are you doing? We're eating dinner. What do you want to look at? And she was just like, oh, hey, I want to look at the Candace Owens show and everything. And I'm not gonna lie, this lady's pretty entertaining. And with me, I'm such a research head. I've had to do some research, and I kind of was coming to a decent amount of the same conclusions as her, in the sense of some of the evidence she was putting out are things that are out there for that and among some other stuff. But anyway, back to the video. Sorry.
Then when he tweeted a lot of years ago, just fired my manager because I realized I can't be managed. That is me. That tweet right there, I was like, oh gosh, yes, Kanye, that I get this. Okay. Nobody is changing their mind anything. How ridiculous would it have been if I'm doing all of this, investigating, asking all of these questions, and then Erika Kirk offers to answer some of these questions, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. I can't betray the people. I don't want any answers to the questions. I just want to ask them.
Now I will say this, for most of us, we are just upset that Candace agreed to, or at least me and my wife, we're upset that Candace agreed to do the meeting privately. Like, no. Yeah, no. Y'all been loud. You've been loud. They've been loud. And when Candace started to focus, I guess, really on Erika, because Erika had been out there doing a press junket for the last week and everything, and then people just started really getting on Erika and everything. Now she wants to come to the table. Let's talk and everything. When Candace has been very vocal this entire time about, like, hey, if Erika wants me to stop, all the thing she has to do is ask me to stop. She has my number and everything. And the fact that she didn't do that, it's like, okay, what's going on here?
No, this is the entire reason we are doing this. We've been looking at the situation going, why can't Turning Point USA just answer basic questions? And I can tell you guys that yesterday, for 4 hours and 30 minutes, there were no rules. They said you can ask us any question that you want, anything that's on your mind, which I appreciated. And some of you guys are thinking, who is they? Who is they? It's the Jews, obviously. Just kidding. It's Justin Strife. Justin Strife was in the room. It was just Justin Strife and Erika. George joined me just for the beginning portion of the conversation because he had that thing going on that I told you on the 15th all day. He was in a conference. And then I brought my cousin Mia, the one that has a really bad attitude. I just bring her there for vibes. I think it just confuses people. They're like, I don't understand what's this person doing here. And the reality is she's like always just listening to Cardi B music. But she's my cousin and I always have her around. And so that was it. She was kind of sitting a little bit away, but at the table it was really just the four of us until George left. And I will be honest, I did not know what to expect going into the room. I did not know if they were going to be open. I didn't know what Erika's energy was going to be like, if it was going to be more of an argument, if there was going to be legal threats.
Right.
You guys were telling me not to drink water, so I didn't drink water. Well, I brought my own water, but I didn't drink that water too. Okay. It was a lot. There's a lot going on. Okay.
Don't drink your own water.
And the conversation started with Justin Strife very sensibly saying, what are we looking to accomplish here? Like, what is the actual aim of this conversation? And he was pretty clear, and Erika was very clear, that they were sort of most upset with obviously a bit of a fever pitch, what I tweeted, that it was a godforsaken company and people should not give money to it. And I have to own that. That's aggressive.
And that's the whole point. The whole point about the reason why they even called this meeting is because it always comes back to the money, which personally, I think it lends more credence to what people say about Erika and what people feel, I guess, really feel about her. They kind of feel like that she's cold, she's calculated, things like that, right? I haven't dove down the rabbit hole and everything. I'm a little scared too. I'm not gonna front, but it's like to take over the company is one particular thing, right? I'm sorry, not take over the company. To step into the limelight for your husband or in your husband's place is one thing, right? That's okay. But how fast you've done it and how really okay you seem, really, it's just like it rubs people the wrong way. And I think really when it comes down to it, it's really PR. PR is like the number one thing that big corporations, especially nonprofits that exist off of donations, have to think about. So because that's crazy. I know for me, if I lost, now granted, her and Erika and Charlie weren't really married that long. They didn't know each other, as long as, let's say, me and my wife, we've been best friends for 16 years. We've been married for 12, going on, no, I'm sorry, 13. No, hold on. We've been married for 12 years now. Sorry, we've been together for 13 years. I've been best friends for 16. So it's just one of them things where it's kind of like, I get it. I just know for me, as a married person who's married to their soulmate, it's incredibly cringing to see. And it lifts up an eyebrow when you see someone whose spouse was taken such a horrific way, just seem to be okay, and then to be okay with how the FBI has been handling the investigation. That's where a lot of people are upset with Erika with.
That is actually aggressive in the retrospect. I was very frustrated, and I don't know. I felt like we weren't getting any answers, and there were so many lies. And then I was getting attacked for asking all meaningful questions that was within their capacity to answer. And I told you, I definitely, my problem in life is that I can rise to anger very quickly. I shared with them that I really felt like I was under attack for telling the truth from the very beginning.
You definitely were.
Casually, when I mentioned the Catholicism thing, like, what was that about? I was like, look, I say something in a tribute to him. Alex Clark and Andrew Colvett then jump onto a podcast and they're doing that weird interview, which is clearly aimed at me. And they've teased the interview. It's like aimed at me, but they never say my name. And that to me felt like it was the first, the first bit of mud that was slung, their answer for that was, hey, that was a really crazy time. A new system had to be put into place. And by no means did Erika give any person the authority to go out and say that the Catholicism thing was a lie. It kind of turned into this big thing. Whatever. Okay, that kind of obviously was not the meat of the reason that we wanted to sit down. I will say I was immediately refreshed by the fact that one of the first things that Erika did was she owned the lies, or rather, I guess they would cage it as miscommunications that were coming from various people at the company. Like, look, this is a company with 650 people that are employed. Everybody at this time is exceedingly emotional, and they are communicating. And no matter what somebody says on Twitter, they assume that this communication has come down from management, and that's not always a circumstance. But they owned right away, which felt great, that if you guys recall, Erika sat down with Glenn Beck. I actually missed this portion because I didn't get to watch the interview in its entirety, and we were.
Okay. I think I possibly missed that when looking at it on live, because looking at things on live is so hard because you always got the chat that can be distracting. So her saying that just the whole miscommunication thing, right? And I forgot these guys, these bozos, I forgot whatever the name that was on live, saying that everything that they are doing, Erika knows, and things like that. I could see how, because again, working in large organizations, I've said one thing to someone, and then it's completely different. It just it when it trickles down, it's just completely different. It's like telephone. So I will say I could see that. But I do feel as though I personally feel as though the organization is big enough, but it's also small enough to to really from a hierarchical standpoint, it's also small enough to like Erika should have seen them say that, right? Seeing the attacks that they've been doing on Candace and corrected it. Personally, that's just what I think.
Pulling clips because a lot was coming out very quickly, but there was a portion that was going around that was viral, and it was Erika saying that she had Charlie's phone and that Charlie never texted anybody the night before saying that he thought that they were going to kill him, and that obviously reflected poorly on me because I was the one who said that he did in fact text multiple people the night before. And then I went on Jimmy Dore on Friday, Jimmy Dore show, and I clarified. I said Andrew Colvett told me specifically that he was one of the people that received this text message. So I got that first person. I didn't get that from a source. I got that directly from Andrew Colvett. And then somebody who had access to Dan Flood's communications said that Dan Flood similarly received a text message. They owned that right away and explained. Erika said that she has Charlie's phone. She's looking at his iMessages. And it turns out that he, like everybody else, communicates on Signal. He communicates on Telegram. And that those, when she heard me say that, they then went and looked. And yes, that what I said was true. Andrew Colvett received a message the night before, and Dan Flood received a message the night before. Now, they asked me if I had actually like a concrete a copy of what Dan Flood got the night before. And I said, no. If somebody told me what it said, which was almost exactly what Andrew said, which is they're going to kill me. Andrew did not know who they were, that the they that he was referring to were. But they clarified that the message that Dan Flood received said the left is going to kill me. So
absolute lies. Absolute lies. I mean, that right there, that's just fishing 101, where it's like you ask questions and they didn't. The crazy thing though is they didn't even fish properly. I mean, they could have asked that in a 1,000 other ways, and it would have not have seemed so obvious as you're just fishing for information. So that you can say the opposite. So, they're incredibly threatened by Candace. I mean, you could just see it. I mean, the fact that, you just hear in this particular portion of the conversation, like her saying that they asked, like, did you have any, like, do you have the text messages and things like that? And she's like, no, well, now we could just say it's the left. My thing is that, well, if that's the case, if that was the real case, and Candace brought this up, they would have actually came out and said that no. He said that the left was going to kill him, and then they would have put out the text messages. Then no one's going to believe it. Who's stupid enough to believe that? Who's stupid enough to believe that just do not care like about the situation, just want to be really just a tool at this point, a propaganda tool.
I can't confirm that one way or the other. I have to trust them on that because I did not see that concrete message. I was told that it said they. Now, obviously, we discussed the moment, and I'm laughing here because you TikTokers are actually out of control. You guys are going to be the reason that Israel gets TikTok because you guys are acting a fool all the time. And the videos were so hilarious of you guys mocking the Barry Weiss interview. It's great. It's good to laugh at ourselves. And Barry Weiss is always worth laughing at. But I was sort of like, hey, I felt name checked by the podcaster, Candace Owens, this obvious setup, and then asking me to stop. And it's interesting to hear Erika say that the reason she didn't ask me to stop in the beginning because she was actually learning things from the show. She was actually learning things. And that I think she similarly felt that Barry Weiss was trying to create a moment. Obviously, it's who Barry Weiss is. It's the Zionist lobby. She's trying to right perceived wrongs because I'm against her side. That does not surprise me. That's kind of why Barry Weiss exists. That's the reason they put her at CBS, is because she's just committed to stacking the audience with people that are going to present the pro-Israel cause and talk about anti-Semitism and talk about like crime being on the rise. It's kind of an embarrassment, but I actually do accept that. And I should also clarify that Barry Weiss obviously picked those questions. They were not random, like I told you. It wasn't like people were coming to the mic and it was an open mic and they didn't know what they were going to get. It was all very much planned by Barry. But Erika said that she knew the general idea, like they were going to mention me and mention the conspiracies, but she was not given that specific, the podcaster, Candace Owens, question. So I think that's very clear that up. Now, I did not at all recant any of my suspicions, and I understand people disagree with me about particular people at Turning Point USA. I communicated what I communicated in front of the whole world. My skin crawled after I spoke to Terrell Farnsworth, the person who took the cameras down. He lied to me several times. I explained to them, which felt good to have that direct communication, how Terrell lied multiple times, and that I did not understand why he was there that day. They echoed what he said. They defended what he said, that they were trying something new that day, that they typically live stream, which is what Terrell said. They typically live stream, and I said every college event. Well, they said, well, yeah, they live stream the events that are tour stops, but they don't live stream like the outside prove me wrong type events. And that was something that was new and it required Terrell. And I said, even if that was all real, if that was all true, I still didn't feel good about the conversation that I had with Terrell, and I can't ignore my gut about the many little lies that he told. I thought the video.
Listen, man, trust and this is why I tell my wife all the time. Hey, man, you gotta trust your gut. Black women's guts be right most of the time. So hey, please just you gotta trust your intuition. So I there's definitely something there. I'm not sure what it is. And this could all just be incompetency. It could be incompetency from the USA security team, whatever that company's called. I think she's gonna say it in this. So the security team, the actual TPUSA team, the FBI. I mean, it could all just be coincidental. It could just all be just people just don't know what they're doing, everything. But when all those things, but even within that, there is a certain number of that. There's a certain critical mass of just excuses and missteps that where it's not missteps. It's, there's something there, everything. So where, there still could be missteps, but there's something larger there. So I definitely feel as though like her gut, my wife's gut, my gut, your gut out there is like, you really have to go with your intuition a lot of the time. Because that right there, your intuition is your survival instincts, and that kind of cuts through all the noise most of the time.
He recorded was weird. I know he comes from a very powerful family. I personally do not trust him. And I obviously do not like the fact that I said, Tyler Boyer lied about this thing and came up with an excuse and said, well, Terrell was asked to take the camera down. That's the reason, he said on Twitter, because the police wanted him to take it down and secure the footage. And I said, I know that's not true. And they said, well, after all of that, yeah.
And where's the footage? Does the FBI have the footage? That's the question here. Because again, I do not fault him for taking the and this is the guy who took the camera footage and everything. So you saw him just instantly take the camera footage and take it home. He took it home. Apparently he took it home. And it's like, well, have you not turned it to the FBI? I mean, that should have been instantly given to the FBI. And everything. And it's like, no, the FBI haven't seen it, so then we haven't seen the footage, and all that stuff right there just really, again, it's one of those things where it's like, even if it's a misstep, even if it's an honest misstep, when it starts stacking up among all the other things, it just looks suspicious.
After he took the cameras down, there was a police officer or Fed, whoever it was, that spoke to him and asked him to secure the footage. Well, that makes sense, but it's not a reason for why he took it down immediately. It makes sense that as you're investigating, you're going to say, who's got the footage? Let's lock it down. But it didn't make sense to me that Tyler Boyer lied about it. And I don't trust Tyler Boyer. And that is never going to change. Similarly with Rob McCoy. He makes my skin crawl. I can't explain it. I look at him and he's a bad person and nobody can make me feel one way or the other about that. I was surprised to learn, and this is kind of gets into, I guess, us not knowing the inner workings at Turning Point USA, that Rob McCoy actually does not work with Turning Point USA in any capacity whatsoever. And so him communicating as he has done, like, I'm the pastor, I'm this, I'm that, it's just not real. Like, that is not real. And we should know that that's not real. And when he says that, call him out on that separately from Turning Point USA. I was operating under the assumption that he worked for Turning Point USA. And I said, if obviously that's wrong, I'm happy to correct that. But also, what were we to assume when he hit the stage at the memorial and said, I'm America's pastor, and then had the Wikipedia updated and said, well, I'm assuming he had it updated because who else would do that he started Turning Point USA Faith. So I guess, to be clear, we were just wrong about that. And I will have a lot more to say about Rob McCoy and where I believe he fits into a lot of things. So I'm not letting up on that. Now, one piece of this where I still don't understand it, and
watching the art, the artistry,
the match.
I mean, personally, if you ask me, I think that, with Charlie passing away, I think that it's kind of like when Alexander the Great passed away. Like, his empire was completely gutted, right? And you have people that's clamoring for importance. It's clamoring for the top, clamoring to be relevant, and so I think that might be the whole Rob McCoy situation. I'm not sure though. Like to be honest, I mean, I haven't looked into this guy. I personally don't. I'm not don't really trust people like mini pastors of like mega churches or televangelists and things like that, especially at a distance. Now if you meet someone and you've had experience with them, because it's like, hey, I've had some clients who were, you know, pastors of like churches and everything. They were pretty big churches, everything, and I let them know like, hey, I especially when they're televangelists, it's like, hey, you're not what I thought you would be. And I just tell them like, hey man, listen, I am not a fan of God, Jesus Christ, keep suffering with that word, televangelists, and you know, and pastors of really big churches and things like that, because you know, I kind of lay it out and everything, because I like just being upfront with people and everything. And when they shock me or prove me wrong, I just tell them like, hey, I thought this was going to be a different experience, but oh, you know, you're a good person. Or in some cases, and some people I've met, they are as shitty as I thought they were.
Where I still don't understand it. And the magic bullet. Okay. Now we all recall what happened. I casually say on the show, hey, I saw the footage. There was no blood. And honestly, when I said it, I didn't process how big of a deal that was with the 30-06. Very quickly, what happens is Andrew Colvett whips up this tweet about what happened with the bullet, and he said he wanted to address all of the discussion that was being had about the online chatter. I'm obviously paraphrasing here. He says, I apologize, it's going to get graphic, but he spoke with the surgeon. The bullet should have gone through. The surgeon then explained that what he's typically seen on these wounds, and basically this was all a miracle. Charlie saved lives, even in death. And the internet clocked it, this miracle, the healthy bone. His bone was so healthy, and the density was so impressive. Like, this is a quote, by the way. His bone was so healthy. I want to read it. This is allegedly from a surgeon. Quote, his bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. And we were just like, eek. Yeah, that kind of was like the beginning of the WT.
Yes,
exactly. Right? I feel like that was kind of the beginning of it.
Exactly.
And immediately people in the comments responded to Andrew, and he said, this individual said, this post is so fake as it would violate HIPAA. There's patient privacy. You can't just call up the surgeon. And then Andrew Colvett replies and says, rest assured, I would not have posted without full.
Exactly. You know, there's no way that an actual doctor would have went against their Hippocratic oath and violated HIPAA just to tell some rando. Because at the end of the day, Andrew is a rando. What like medical information? They just don't do that.
Permission. Now, he said he spoke to the surgeon, and they confirmed that Andrew spoke to the surgeon, but that they did not know that he was going to write that tweet. They did not know that he called up the surgeon. So like, it very much came across to be like Andrew was just flying by the seat of his pants. I don't know. Like, he was just flying dark on. And I was like, that seems very strange to me, because why would a surgeon do that? Like, the first thing the surgeon should say is, I can't speak to you. I don't even know. In theory, Andrew wasn't even there when Charlie died. Yep. I don't even know why the surgeon even knows this guy, actually. Maybe he hung around after, but you know, Andrew was not one of the people that got into the hospital or anything like that. So this is quite literally the PR guy who's calling the surgeon. And so that just seems weird. Very inappropriate for a person to do, period. And I would say it was kind of the beginning, but that was what I got from that. Now, obviously, we discussed the security. I brought up Brian Harpole, this interview with Sean Ryan, and I think we can believe Turning Point when they say that they did not approve of this. They had no idea he was going on Sean Ryan. I think that's pretty clear. I don't believe he works there anymore. So that was kind of him, just getting out there and perhaps trying to rescue his own reputation. And I think that only made his reputation worse, actually, because people rightfully sensed that he wasn't telling the truth in that interview, that he was being cagey, that he was saying things that didn't make any sense. Again, you constantly have these people that believe, like Brian Harpole, that with enough performance, he can sit down and you're just going to convince people that this is real. And this is just a different time. Like I said, these TikTokers are out of control. They will check you in 4 seconds. Okay. Things that, the biggest piece of this that I want to communicate, and that I did communicate to them, and I hope that they took me seriously on this, or rather that they take my strong advice on this. I said, one of the reasons why I really want to sit down is because I want to walk out of here and feel confident saying to my audience, hey, like, there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
Right.
Like, that more will come out, but you can take it from me.
Now, I'm not gonna lie. See, watching this live, it did come off a little different. It did come off a little differently. But now kind of rewatching it, it's kind of like, okay, no. It's right. Because like, hey, I don't want to think that that TPUSA had anything to do with this. TPUSA, the people over there, anything like that, right? So her going into this, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, yes, wish you hadn't have done it, wish you had not have agreed to a private meeting, but at the end of the day, no one wants to think that Erika had anything to do with this, right? And that his organization had anything to do with it, whether they turned a blind eye or whether they truly helped.
That this is what happened. I was looking to achieve that because there's been a lot of signaling from various people, some people who are experts, some people who have been involved in cases, that there's obviously going to be stuff that the public does not have access to. And so it is at least plausible that they have seen very clear footage that we've been asking for of Tyler Robinson getting up there and taking the shot. Like, they have access to UVU cameras. So I was hoping to hear that. And I said that I want to hear why people feel so confident at Turning Point USA that Tyler Robinson is the guy. And at this point, they elected to call the lawyer, their lawyer who is involved in this case, one of the lawyers that's involved in this case. There's always a team of lawyers, especially for something like this.
That's crazy,
and
by the
what
way.
I got from the lawyer.
Is that crazy, by the way? I think, bringing in a lawyer after the fact and not just having the lawyer there from the beginning, that screams, hey, we're getting close to something that's a tad bit touchy.
Did not make me feel that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. It did not make me feel confident that he didn't or did shoot Charlie Kirk. I was very surprised by this. He spoke a very long time. I asked, can you share with me what it is? And I said, when you share this with me, I will not say what that thing is. If we want to protect the integrity of the case, I'm not going to, if you say, we've got the footage of him taking a shot, I promise I won't say that to the audience, but I will communicate to them that you have something that is solid. And no, to the exact contrary, this guy effectively said, not effectively, he said that they have nothing but the affidavit. Okay, so what we have seen is what they have. What is being discussed publicly, you are this whole non-expert problem with well, you don't know. It's like what you read, his messages that don't have any dates on it, Tyler Robinson writing out everything in the clean.
I mean, the playing with people's intelligence is crazy. That's why it's like, no, that's why people are just not no, somebody in some governments had something to do with this. And it's like, that's where the incompetency has to really go out the window, because I mean, I live in DMV. I know FBI agents. Hey man, these people are really good at their jobs. There's no way unless you have people deliberately either new in the field or corrupt that would, bungle this type of investigation. As much bungling as they've been doing.
Alibi, that's what they have. And what he explained to me was that that's the affidavit stage. That's where it's at. And then what takes place now is the investigation is ongoing, right? So right now they're looking for more information. And once investigators, they could very well have obviously footage. And that is why they might feel that, we're definitely gonna get this prosecution. But the reality is they don't actually share that information with the victim. They don't share that information with Erika. They don't, in this part of the process, they will not know what investigators have discovered. This is what the lawyer told me until May. Okay. They have not seen anything that you have not seen, is what I want you to know.
Oh, wow.
So with that in mind, I'm sitting here going, why are you signaling? Why do I feel like the public's being gaslit on this? There's been nothing that's convincing. There are so many commentators who have gone out and said to you, it's overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The text messages that don't have a date, that don't even sound real, that's overwhelming. That to me feels really fake and gay. I really do want to say that to every commentator that is out there trying to tell the public and insisting that if you say it enough times it'll become real, you're actually just being dishonest. Yeah. And I offered that a more honest way to communicate would be to say, we think he's involved. We feel strongly. I've said that. I think he's involved. We are very hopeful that throughout this investigation, we are going to get that concrete thing. And that's where we're at right now. That's just the stage that we are at. That is not what we are getting from them. That is I just feel like that's really important to let you guys know. Let the gaslighting stop. They have what you have. Okay. There is nothing else. They are in an investigative stage. Erika has been named as the victim. They will know more in this May hearing, which is the probable cause hearing. That's what the lawyer told me. It's probable cause hearing. And that's when they will see the evidence. That's when they get to present the evidence, why they are going to stand there before a judge and be like, yes, we need to move this forward. It's not just an affidavit. We're not pulling together scraps. We have concrete evidence. Until then, okay, until we all get on the same page and understand what else they have, I am very confident stating the opposite of all of my, I guess, well-paid peers, in that I don't believe that Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger. And what I also said to them was, and I said this in front of the lawyer, because I don't know why I'm like this. I was like, you might need a new lawyer. I was like, because this person's trying to sell to you that this is solid. One of the rules that me and my husband have is that if you have a lawyer that tells you you're 100% going to win, it's very clear that you're going to win, you need to do a lawyer. Okay, that's a cheerleader. That's not a lawyer. A lawyer, even if you should 100% win, should be telling you the risks here. I feel good about this case. Like, let me talk real to you. I feel good about this case, but here's where things could go wrong. I want you to understand those risks that are involved. We don't have this yet. We don't have that yet. And especially given what I told them, which is your lawyers, or the investigators rather, not their lawyers, because they're not the ones investigating. It's the state of Utah that's investigating. They have not called the one solitary person, as I told you guys, who filmed as he was on the roof. Remember the guy that's like, oh, there's somebody on the roof, and he sees him crouched down.
Oh, wow.
I said, I spoke to that person, and his testimony would be devastating to your prosecution. He saw the person on the roof. He filmed the person on the roof at 12:23 p.m. and he did not see that person take the shot. And this is not some random student. This is a guy who trains people to shoot guns at a range. He knows guns, okay? He said what he saw was a smaller gun. He said that this person was dressed in black tactical gear and there was no recoil. That's devastating. That would be devastating to the prosecution. And yet investigators haven't reached out. Now they offered back. Well, maybe they haven't reached out because they have an even clearer video. And that's true. That's actually a good rebuttal. They're like, we don't even have to talk to this guy because the video will speak for itself. And we saw what we saw. Okay, but wouldn't you still want to speak to the other guy so you could prepare? Right. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if he's a gun expert and he could be a key witness. Yes, the evidence that he has is out there, but that's an eyewitness.
To question him something, I don't like if this investigation is going on, and I feel as though I spoke to more people than they have. Both of the people who filmed videos that day told me that they weren't reached out to. So I don't understand what's happening here. I don't understand the competence, I guess, is the best way to say this. I told them I do not understand the competence that is happening. Now, another really big thing that happened was they brought me Mikey's call logs, okay? They brought me Mikey's call logs, and that is why I said this was a productive meeting. There is no other way to say it. I asked every question, and they came with paperwork to show and to answer and to explain certain things. Also, which was, I thought, actually kind of sweet, that I guess I did on the previous show. I was like kind of looking at things into Mikey, and I couldn't find him. And someone said, I think Mikey's not his real name. They thought it was his middle name, actually. And I just assumed, okay, well, maybe he's using his middle name and that's why I can't find him. But Mikey really wants you guys to know that is his real name. And it is his real name. I found out shortly thereafter that they were confusing his middle name with, they thought it was switched. Michael is his real name, just to clarify that, because I realized I actually didn't go back and clarify that. But Mikey's call logs, big piece of this, okay? I'm going to, I guess, jog your memory on what Blake said about Mikey that day, and then I'll tell you what actually happened, because I don't think Blake has that great of a memory. Okay, take a listen.
So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left.
These the bozos I was talking about, by the way.
And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realize there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before. And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erika. And then he takes his phone, and he begins calling Erika. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. Your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erika. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy, and he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him.
Okay, so that's just not right. And so when he says, I might be imagining this, I'll never forget.
Yeah, dude's been caught lying on some other stuff. So to believe him, it's like any of them, by the way.
Followed by, I might be imagining this, probably means that maybe you forgot and you really could be imagining. Now, for me personally, I think the normal physiological response in these high adrenaline situations for most people is you lock in. They're literally your body, when it goes through something, when it's terrified and is going through this sort of you are really paying attention to details, we've learned about this many times over
fight or
in health
flight.
class growing up. This is why they talk about that fight or flight response, and quite literally there's stuff happening to your body. And so there's a lot of details here that are just not accurate. And the one that surprised me the most about these call logs is I certainly feel that we were given the impression over and over and over again that the first person Mikey called was Erika, right? He called Erika. He was we were told this by many people also that he trained, like he almost like went to a camp and trained, and Charlie was like, 1, 2, 3, go, and like fast, 1, 2, 3, go. Go. That's why he walked away. 1, 2, 3, go, and just told him this is what the first thing you do is. Well, he didn't do that. Actually, the first person he called.
Yeah. Now I will say this. A lot in organizations, you do have a person that's supposed to do certain things no matter what and everything. Now that's different in each organization. So I mean, I could see that.
Was his wife. He called Elizabeth McCoy, and then he stayed on the phone with his wife for 10 minutes. And during those 10 minutes, he three-wayed Erika 3 minutes after the shot went off. And then he three-ways his father. And then he three-ways a third person who I am not interested in mentioning because it's not relevant. This is Danny McCoy, by the way, is his brother that's in the military, but that's before the shot goes off. Charlie Kirk shot goes off. You know, I have that in detail. Charlie's brought to security. Mikey McCoy calls his wife. They will stay on the phone for 10 minutes. Okay. In that same minute, because we know this, because Blake Neff has given us his call log to his mother, Blake Neff called his mom. His call with his mother lasted 45 seconds. So we're assuming it went to 12:25. It very well could have stayed in 12:24, depending on the millisecond. Blake Neff ends that phone call with his mother. Mikey McCoy, after the phone call with his mother ends, adds Erika to the phone. Okay, so that when he was recapping and he's like, oh, his lips quivering and he's like, I got to call Erika. And he's like, and then I called my mom. That's not right.
No, right.
That's just not right. Okay, Mikey called Erika after Blake Neff ended that phone call with his mother. If call logs are to be believed above, human testimony. Mikey McCoy then drops Erika from the phone call 2 minutes later, and then he adds his father to the phone call. Again, he is this entire time on the phone with his wife, okay? And then Mikey McCoy ends his phone call with his father. He does call another person who I'm not mentioning because it's just not relevant to anything, not a character in the story, rather. And then he ends the phone call with his wife, and a minute later, his brother calls him back, and they stay on the phone for 10 minutes. I did not get this from everybody speaking about this Mikey McCoy call log. I know that you guys did not get this. I did not get this. I don't know why she was disappeared from this. Like you could go, the wife wants privacy. No, she was main stage.
Right.
At the memorial has been, I would say very involved in a lot of this kind of, I think it's very close that she's close with Erika. They went on the vacation together. So I don't get this disappearing act.
Right.
I found that to be like.
Right. It's kind of like, okay, well, then it's like, I know for some people you instantly go to then, well, we need to see her call logs. I mean, hey, listen, we do. Because why was she omitted? Why the switch up and everything? See, it's things like this where it's like, it just makes it more and more suspicious.
Like, okay, but they were forthcoming with it. That feels good. That feels good, guys. Like, wow, we don't have to guess. Now we have solid answers. And like I said, when you come out and give solid answers and you're not weird and calling people names and saying all this stuff, it allows people to go, okay, I feel a bit more like we can trust this process because we have communication. That's the reality. And so I wanted to update you with that. Also, another thing that really, I think, surprised them and I think surprised me is getting back to this Hamptons retreat. The thing about the Hamptons retreat, and I communicated this with them, that makes me so uncomfortable is how many little lies were told. I think I've been clear about that. Like Steph Dillon definitively pressed Charlie at this event, and whether it was in a hypothetical, which it was in a hypothetical, but he got fired up in the hypothetical of Charlie discussing potentially tweeting something against Bibi Netanyahu. It did lead to this firecracker moment. Again, this is one of those things where I go, why am I always being hung out to dry for telling people the truth? Especially when I wasn't going, oh, well, Steph Dillon killed Charlie Kirk. I just, this happened. It factually happened. And yet everybody's kind of putting out these weird statements and they're not being honest in them. And I was saying to them, that made me feel really weird. And I would love to know more about this Bibi Netanyahu offer to fund Turning Point to the next level. At which point Erika said she was not aware of that happening. It is obviously totally possible that was kept in the business lane of Turning Point USA. But I'm certain, I said, I am absolutely certain that I did not get this from an obscure source that Bibi offered to fund Turning Point to the next level. And it was part of my frustration with that sit down with Alex Clark, where Andrew said, oh, there was not $150 million that's made up. I told them, Andrew Colvett was my source. Andrew Colvett told me verbatim. that Bibi Netanyahu offered to take Turning Point to the next level.
Jesus Christ. It's kind of like, hey, y'all gotta get y'all lives together. What are we doing here? Y'all gotta get y'all lives together. Man, if this was first 48, jail. Lock them up. Throw away the key. All of them. Absolutely all of them. You going to jail.
And that Charlie turned that money down. So I said, there's a bit of a predicament when I'm being like lambasted by all of these voices and people that are attacking me and these paid campaigns. And when I say paid, yes, okay, actually have the names of people. Different ways are being paid. Some are being paid by PR firms. Too many are being paid by Prager University, which is upsetting to me because I know Marissa and it's just dirty. But it's especially crazy when people are calling it a conspiracy when I share things that are told to me from the spokesperson of Turning Point USA. Okay, that's weird. And yes, they were forthcoming. Nobody's ever denied this. So this was not on our list of lies about the fact that Bibi Netanyahu did call him. Okay, that did happen. Bibi shared that, by the way. Our source for that could have just as well been Bibi Netanyahu. And not a lot of clarity on, I don't know, why some people think he didn't make this offer and why definitively 3 different sources who would have knowledge of this confirmed to me that Bibi Netanyahu did indeed make this offer. I never said $150 million ever, not once on the show. I wouldn't have even said that, by the way. If you said take Turning Point to the next level, I actually would have assumed it was more, if I'm being honest. That's a hefty offer and it leads to a lot of questions. So there was not a lot of clarity there. Lastly, I want to add, of course, I was locked in this meeting when people online were another round of debunking the Egyptian planes. I want to be very clear. We discussed the Egyptian planes, and I have since worked on an incredible document about the Egyptian planes, which we are going to put up on our website because I realized that when we shared that spreadsheet, people assumed that one of the columns, which was actually saying where the planes landed on that day, because it was plus or minus 3 days, was exactly where Erika had been on that day, and that was inaccurate. And so for clarity, I had been working on the last week on turning it into an interactive timeline that we can put up on our website, because I'm certain that these Egyptian planes are incredibly shady, and that they were in fact tracking Turning Point USA faith broader events. Of course, Erika was at some of them, Charlie was at some of them, but it is the pattern here is undeniable. So let the naysayers and people make videos trying to, 5th round debunk these planes. I also want to say to you that I feel very confident that I know why these planes have caused such panic. And it is because there is overwhelming evidence that these planes regularly fly in and out of Israel. And I'm going to present that evidence.
Right. I mean, people panicking, or not really panicking, but people bringing up and trying to severely debunk the Egyptian plane stuff. I always find it interesting because governments, again, governments, they share, they work with each other all the time. There's a lot of counterintelligence and counterterrorism operations that go on all the time, that there are like joint ventures or joint operations. So I mean, the whole Egyptian plane thing isn't out of the norm, because if you want to do something that's covertly, then if you're doing it with, let's say, I would imagine a commercial plane would like a private commercial plane would be better. But I mean, hey, whatever, a government plane, this Egyptian, sure, right? Anything.
Evidence tomorrow. I say that strongly. This is I feel very confident saying these Egyptian planes are flying in and out. And notice I'm saying planes because once I was able to connect people that were on those planes onto other Egyptian planes, I was able to...
Also, Egyptian plane doesn't mean they're Egyptian government planes. It could just be Egyptian registered planes. And as we know, same thing go for yachts and other things. You can have stuff registered in other countries for tax purposes, for privacy reasons. So I don't know really what she means by that. I can't remember. I know she said that she gave clarity of what she meant in one of the videos she did, but I can't remember what it is at the moment.
Realize that these planes are flying in and out of Israel and turning their transponder off each time that they do it. That is now makes perfect sense of why there was this mass panic, right? It's not exactly like we have a strong Egyptian lobby in the United States. Now we're like, whoa, well, those darn Egyptians again are trying to get TikTok censored. I mean, every person in the game, Barry, acting. Well, these are the usual suspects that act if something is a threat to Israel, okay? Which is, they should have just been forthcoming, pretended that it was changing apart. Instead, they're trying to gaslight us, and they're actually, frankly, just pissing me off. So I became...
If there was a big Egyptian lobby, grandma.
Locked in on these Egyptian planes, because that's how I am, okay? You keep pushing me and keep pushing me, I will become an expert on these planes. I'll learn how to build an Egyptian plane. And the reality is, like I said, tomorrow I will show you how these planes tie back to Israel. And there's no disproving this. So more on that later. We'll be right back after throwing it to some of our sponsors. Okay, so a couple of things I want to say. First and foremost, I just got a live update that I thought it was Danny McCoy on the call log. I should totally correct that, and I will correct that, and we'll be sure to trim it in post here. But it is not Danny McCoy. It is Danny, another one of Charlie's assistants. So I will correct that. Please correct that if you're going to make videos. Not Danny McCoy that called him and then called him after. That is another assistant of Charlie's. So we want to be accurate. I don't know why I assumed it was Danny McCoy in my head. I may have done that. Okay, another thing. You guys may have been noticing that we are getting
change. But anywho, well, listen, that was the part that I wanted to that I really wanted to refocus on, just the meeting between her and Erika and everything, really what she got from it. Because again, when you're looking at stuff live, it is really hard, especially, going out to get food and then kind of looking at on your mobile phone and all these different things. So, I wanted to kind of give it a fair assessment and everything. And I do feel as though I was a tad bit, I will say this, that I was a little unfair with her, and I think a lot of us in the comment section, or some of us in the comment section, were probably a little unfair with her energy and everything, because even though it's not as we want it to be, again, she's a professional, but then also you kind of want to make sure that you're taking a tad bit of the high road. So, because if you're going to be doing this, because the court of public opinion is can flip on a dime. So her staying professional, her staying very concise and proper and stuff like that, and being more journalistic is the proper way to go about it and everything. I know sometimes we on the internet want people to just go crazy because we be at home like, nah, Erika Byron or TPUSA had to been involved because of XYZ and everything. So, that's so I will say that re-looking at it, being in a different mindset, not being so hyped to understand what's going on, to kind of be settled down, and then to then look at it and absorb it a day later. I think she did pretty well, and I think that a lot of people are going to actually have come out to that same conclusion. But if you guys don't agree with that, let me know in the comment section. Well, listen, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you like this, if you like my commentary, and you like this videos like this where we talk about business, finance, and we have some fun. We dive down a couple rabbit holes here. Please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.